Controlling the center in chess is an interesting concept, and it's interesting in that there are differing views as to both how and when to do it. Now, in a vacuum, there are three different pieces that have both maximum potential attack range and maximum potential movement when they are placed in the center. Take, for example, a knight. If we stick the knight in the center, we have 8 potential moves there. Now if we take a second knight and stick it in the center, let's say here, we increase from 8 to 14 moves, and 2 moves, we have double pressure on those individual yellow squares right there. Now keep in mind with knights that their maximum range is not just the 4 center squares, but actually the 16 center squares they have maximum movement on. Another piece that has maximum value in the 4 center squares is the bishop, and that's because it moves on a diagonal, where its maximum number of moves are in those 4 squares. The same actually holds true for the queen as well. Okay, so we know that in a nutshell, having these 3 pieces in the center increases their range and attack value. Now the other question that we have here is, well, how exactly do we control it? And one way to do that is by taking 2 pawns and sticking those pawns in the center. Or even sticking more pawns around the center to help protect it. Now, essentially, pawns are a cheap way to control the center, but we have to be careful because there's a danger in that they can become overextended, which can lead them to be either imbalanced and possibly exposed to an attack by our opponent. Now the center can also be controlled by just simply being in position to attack it, so you don't necessarily have to be in the center. Take for example the bishop can control it from a distance, the rook can control the center from a distance, and you don't have to have a knight in the center to control it, because remember the knight has a little bit bigger of a center. As long as they're influencing it, they essentially have control of the center. The same holds true with the queen. The queen can influence the center from afar. Obviously the queen has more attack range when you place it in the center, but there's some drawbacks which we'll look at in a minute. One of those drawbacks essentially is you can lose tempo if you place, let's say, a queen in the center and it becomes a target. And the reason being is that you're going to be forced to retreat, and you lose a move and you're losing tempo of the game. The same holds true if you stick a rook in the center and an opponent attacks it with a weaker piece that forces you to retreat the rook, and you'll lose a move and lose tempo. Now, as I said earlier, bishops don't necessarily need to be in the center to control it. You can stick one on the side and put pressure on the center from there. And the same holds true with a rook. You don't necessarily have to have it in the center to control the center. You can have it on, let's say, e1 and just put pressure on the center and put pressure on your opponent. Now, another question people have is having more pieces in the center a good thing or not so good thing? Well, one point you might want to consider is that if those pieces become targets, as I've talked about earlier, that's not good. However, if you control the center, it does allow more movement of pieces. The key thing is it needs to be coordinated control, or you can move your pieces around, and it allows you to set up more attack options. Another positive of having control of the center is that it limits your opponent's piece movement. Your opponents, when you have pieces in the center, your opponents can't move as much. You don't have as many movement options, and that can potentially lead to more attacking options. And it takes away your opponent's ability to take 2 pieces and have them work together. So it lowers their value added, or the amount of value they can provide in a turn. Now, just remember to be careful because exposing pieces can lead to overextending your position and you become imbalanced. And that kind of ties into the not if they become targets part. You don't want to overextend yourself or have a plan that gets exploited by your opponent. Now, the one thing to remember about bishops is that they increase in value in open games. So the more open the game, the more they increase in value because they have more potential to attack and they can work with other pieces. And knights, typically, on the other hand, their maximum value is realized in closed games where they can jump over pieces that other pieces can't do, and they can set up on outposts and create problems where they limit your opponent's movement. In closing, while there are different opinions as to how to go about controlling the center, keep in mind that we want to have a good, flexible plan that allows us to adapt to changing game situations and take advantage of potential imbalances. Thank you for watching.